What's going on, guys? We're not going to scrub the video using YouTube today. We are going to use the Shot Coach app, which I use from time to time. I really wanted to get in the weeds on this match and see the efficiency, because this was a very easy match. So a lot of it was about efficiency and your ability to split the gun, split that trigger. So let's jump in here. All right, so you can see in the top right, I'm at 240. Notice how I reach for the gun. I put one hand on the gun rather than both. I normally reach for the gun with both hands to make sure I get it seated correctly. I didn't, so I have to adjust, which is why it takes an eternity. See there, my hands adjust. Now I'm on target. So this is worth discussing, since some of the guys I shot with are production shooters. When you're shooting high cap, you have to learn how to stitch positions together. I'm not the best at it, but I am learning. So the first 5 targets, if I moved my feet, I would have to twist my torso. Since this is orienting me more downrange as I transition to the right, I just let it go till about this target here when I start moving my feet. And you can see that here. Okay, so as I shoot that guy, I start to creep forward, and there should be 4 shots now. Oh no, it just did it on the last 2, it turns out. Get my load complete, and I wanted to shoot this array from right to left, because this target right there or so, you could actually make him disappear if you backed out of this position any. So since he was kind of forcing you to come to this position, I wanted to be sure to shoot him first. Whoops. So you can see I'll just kind of run through the array left or right to left. Then I start shifting my weight. With about 3 targets left or so, I start to shift my weight back out of position, getting ready to exit. So I'm able to take 1, 2 steps out of position. 2-5-1 movement and load. That last one, that last transition, there's a bit of a hitch there, 0.37 on the transition. I think I was trying to understand where I needed to stop, because if you look at this target, he's the one that we engaged at the other position. I think I was probably just confirming that that was the target I needed to stop shooting on. So that's the last target we engaged from this position. So let's go to the next stage. Or first, let's look at our numbers. You want your splits and transitions to be roughly the same. So you can see that my total is 612 right there for average splits. 445 in movement, a 240 draw, which is about probably a half second off of where it should have been. And then my 632, so I'm at 632 versus 612, so that's pretty close, not quite perfect, but not bad. All right, then we went on to stage 3. And here we go, guys. Because I'm right-handed, I'm going to turn to my right. I wanted to shoot the array that was on the right first, but I just didn't want to risk it on the turn and draw. So that's a 148 turn and draw to a target that was about 6 or 7 yards. And then I just kind of hesitate. I'm not real sure why I hesitate right there. And I was kind of getting my groove on that whole first array. So there's probably a quarter second or more on the table I left there. There's a really sporty wide transition at 0.6 seconds. And so you can see again, I'm moving out of position as I do that. Shooting on the move isn't strictly necessary, but this is an instance where you kind of had to, because you see I pick up 1, 2, 3 full steps out of position, and I didn't shoot it much slower than if I had just stood there and burned it down. Getting into position. So I shoot those guys pretty quick. Then, so you'll notice there's 4 targets there, 4 targets in the first array, 4 targets in the second array. I have shot to 24. That was by design. This has forced my gun to go to slide lock, even though the slide doesn't lock back. See, the slide is still in battery. But look right there. Where does my left hand go? In front of the ejection port, chambers around, back on target like a boss. That's why we do it that way. It's faster. It's not for press checks. All right, let's talk about that little hitch there. 141 to get into this port and start shooting. I watched an open shooter get into this position and shoot the targets from right to left. And I originally, when I programmed the stage, was going to shoot left to right. I did not give myself enough time to adapt the new stage plan, and I probably left about a half second or so on the table as a result. So just small little errors like that add up for time. All right, so I needed to reload coming out of this position. I would have liked to have shot these targets from here, all 4 of those guys, because this is as close as I was ever going to be organically without coming forward to the fault line here. It didn't make a lot of sense to come forward to the fault line. I mean, from where I was standing here, they were about 10 yards from where I actually moved to engage them, which was more efficient. They're about 15 yards here. So that's why all of a sudden the shooting sounds like it's glacially slow. And I paced this off so I know it's 15 yards, but really those were 0.3 splits, 0.35 splits at 20 or 15 yards. Not that bad. I mean, you can see my split times and transitions start to slow down at the end of the stage because I'm starting to get tired, because that's the thing when you're pulling a bunch of triggers. All right, so here we are. We have the barrel of monkey stage where I took my only mic of the day, although I had a handful of deltas. 173 into position. Look how flat that gun is. Remember that grip video I did a while back? You should watch that video. It has really helped me hold the gun flat. So let's just talk strategy on the stage real quick. They started you in front of this, and you'll notice that I keep my all the way back. I notice I keep my head down when I'm starting. So when I'm standing at the barricade, I'm keeping my head down. I don't want to hit my bill on that barricade. I did it in one of my dry walkthroughs. I don't want to do it again. So there we go. You could have gone left or right around this barricade. Since you have to go all the way to the left and all the way to the right, it didn't make a lot of sense to go right and then go left, because you had to go all the way anyway. And this barricade was closer to the left side, so it made more sense to go left because there would be fewer steps. So right off the draw, I could see between these 2 barrel stacks here and here on the target stacks that were there. So that's just kind of what I shoot first, and I do a pretty sporty job shooting those guys. And then I get in this position, and this was really sad. This is where I threw my alpha. I'm not sure whether it was the first or second shot. Probably need to look at the hat cam and understand exactly what happened. I don't know where the bullet could have gone. There was almost no space between the barrels and the targets, and if you didn't hit a barrel, you should have hit a target. Could have been a perfect double, but I just ate the mic like a champion. Again, gun is staying really, really flat. All right, this brings up another little point. And using Shot Coach, I actually saw this. So, all right, I'm done with my shooting here. Look how long it takes for me to get that hand onto the mag. I take a full step with my left foot before I start dropping my hand off the gun to get the magazine. As a result, I'm very upright during my movement. I'm not running very hard. I want to try and get that left hand on the magazine a lot faster. It's something I noticed particularly during this match that I think is part of the reason why my loads are not as sporty as I would like them to be. All right, again, this was a strategy thing. I had to reload. I shot the 20. You probably couldn't tell because it went fairly quickly. There's a 22 round magazine falling out of the gun there. You had to go all the way to the right anyway, so rather than like pausing and trying to shoot these guys on the move because I'm stubborn, I just ran to the last position and shot everything. So my finger's tired and I got trigger freeze on this target, which is why I pull away and swing back on. So there's probably 0.3 of a second or so I could have taken. And the reason I'm stressing out about this, guys, is high hit factor stages are all about speed. So all these like 3 and 4/10 of a second errors do add up to considerable time. There's probably 0.7 seconds or so I found on this stage. And on a stage that's only 17 seconds, 18 seconds long or whatever, that's appreciable on a high hit factor stage like this. So, and here we are on stage 5. And this was a failure on my part of preparing for this stage. I didn't have enough ammo to shoot all of my reloads. So I had 200 rounds of my ammo and 200 rounds of Federal Champion that I bought in Walmart. And I was kind of miscombobulated as I was loading magazines. So the magazine that's loaded into the gun that I'll start the stage with only has about 16 rounds in it. And as a result, it ends up costing me about 4.5 seconds of actual time. And then you can see my transition and splits in the second position as I'm just furious with myself for what I did. Just really slow down as it kind of took me out of the zone where I was just kind of watching what happened, or I was just thinking about everything. So you can see I'm shooting pretty sporty, 20-25 transitions and splits. So there's dead time of 4:27 up there, right there. I made a stage marker called wasted time just for what happened here. So the slide doesn't lock back on these Terran mags. Look how slow I am, 0.4 and 0.47 between targets through the port. I will give myself a pat on the back because my positioning in here was good. I got my feet exactly how I wanted. When I came into the port, you can see all my weight is loaded on my right knee, which is exactly what I wanted. And then I'm just kind of swinging my hips kind of through the space of my legs, shifting my weight from the right to the left, staying low. And you can see as I finish up over here, I've gone about as far as I can see. I have to reposition my feet to kind of shoot these guys. And I had to reload anyway, so it was a natural marriage to reload. But this is the worst reload I do all day. 3.7, you can see I try and chamber around. I'm just totally out of the game at this point because I'm so sad about what happened at the barrel, because it was a pretty good match otherwise. So that was my worst mistake all day. You could have bought mulligans at this match. They were selling mulligans. You could do one stage over again for $10. I wanted the sting to be fresh. I wanted to remember this. I wanted my preparation between stages to be on point. So I did not mulligan the stage. I just ate the 5 seconds or more that I probably wasted as a result. And that brings us to the last stage. All right, so this stage was a 180 trap. You can see, we'll get into that here in a second, but let's start with kind of these targets you see right here. You can see that my head is oriented on those targets. You had two options on how to do this. Some people would just go all the way down and they would go all the way down on this side and come all the way back on this side. And ultimately you had to shoot those targets right there because of 180. Even if you stood touching the fault line, it was on about the 170 degree mark to shoot this target here. So you had to be pretty much right there to shoot that. If I had, I finished the stage right there, but if I had come all the way back, I have this whole travel time, which is about 2 seconds or so. Whereas the way I did it, where I just kind of stepped into the box and I drew, you can see I step in with my right foot. This is on purpose because this is the foot that I'm going to be leaning on. I want to go ahead and load all my weight on that foot. My left foot is just kind of there for balance. It's not really where all my weight is. So I needed to get my load-bearing foot down first so I could get a platform. As a result, I didn't do a draw marker on this stage, but it was pretty quick. Took me a second to kind of get with the program as we're advancing, but that's okay. That reload was super weak at 239. Again, you can see how long I take, about 2 steps by the time my hand gets to the magazine. Got to change that. Got to get that hand down faster. All right, down here, my transitions were a little bit wide. All right, so this is a good little move that Max Michel and all the AMU guys like to use, this kind of sidestep. That's a good way to move laterally up range if you need to. Put that in your tool bag, use it, it's good. All right, so let's look at the hits on that one. I think it ended, this is way off. The time ended up actually being, I think, 23 seconds. So the whole draw that I'm missing is the issue there. All right, so my total splits, 21 seconds in splits, that's not right. A 239 split, yeah, that's not right. These aren't right, so these numbers are worthless. Anyway, but this is Shot Coach. If you like using this versus just looking at my match video together, let me know. This is the last match of 2019, so the big takeaways are going to be staying wide and staying low. I like to stand up because I'm tall. I need to stay low so I can move better. My grip really worked well. After I did that grip video, I really focused on that, and you can see the gun was held super flat. I think once I kind of get used to that more, I'll be able to exploit it further in the year to come. I need to get my hand down onto the magazine, moving out of positions a lot faster. So that's going to be a big focus here in the 2 months or so to the next match. I may shoot in January, I may not, who knows. But that's kind of the Hosefest match. Ended up coming in second to a gentleman named Mark Miller. When I put the bench video together, he was not on the score list, and then they updated the scores, and then there he was, and he beat me. So I was 93% of him. He's another A-class guy, so I need to learn how to beat him if I want to dominate the DFW area carry optics scene. So that's what the off season's for. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.